In a faraway kingdom where the mist mingles with the sea and secrets whisper with the waves, there was a young prince named Caelan. He was a quiet soul, one who found peace not among the castle halls, but along the cliffs by the ocean, where the sound of the sea seemed to speak just to him. Tonight, as you listen, let the rhythm of the waves carry you away, and let Prince Caelan's journey take you softly to a place of wonder far beyond the edge of dreams. In a kingdom shrouded by the mists of time and bound by the edge of a brooding sea, there lived a young prince, Caelan. Many called him the Quiet One, for he spent his hours not in the company of courtiers or knights, but in the solitude of cliffs overlooking the ocean. There he would sit and listen, ears attuned to the secret language of the waves. For the sea was never silent. On the breath of each wave it whispered strange and ancient tales, fragments of long-forgotten secrets. And one legend in particular held Caelan's heart captive, the story of Alarion, the silver sea serpent, a creature so old it seemed woven from the first threads of starlight and shadow. They said he was made of pure mystery, with scales that caught the light and scattered it, a being of elegance and enigma, who could slip through the deepest trenches like a shadow and vanish in a flash of silver. The legends held that Alarion was more than a beast. He was the very soul of the ocean itself, holding within him the secrets of life and death, of realms seen and unseen. Some claimed he was a harbinger of storms, others a guardian of lost treasures. But all agreed that the serpent did not seek out mortals. Only a rare few had glimpsed his silver coils beneath the moon, and those who had never saw him again. Caelan, however, felt the weight of his gaze each time he ventured to the shore. One night, drawn by a strange yearning he could not name, Caelan crept from the castle, slipping past the guards and into a rowboat tethered at the dock. He pushed off, drifting into the silken black of night, where stars above merged with their reflections below, blurring the boundary between sky and sea. In the hush of the midnight hour, Caelan heard something, a voice softer than a sigh, familiar yet strange. It was as if the sea itself had called his name. Eyes wide and unblinking, he drifted farther out, where the shore was but a dim memory, and the water stretched vast and dark around him. The stars, like scattered diamonds, winked above and below, and he felt the tug of something ancient, a presence neither kind nor cruel, but vast beyond reckoning. Then there it was, the first flicker of silver, a quick glint in the water beneath him, as if 1,000 small mirrors were weaving and winding in the darkness. His breath caught, and his heart, though steady, thudded in his chest like a distant drum. Slowly, a shape coiled up from the water, impossibly graceful, an immense figure adorned in gleaming scales that seemed to capture every glint of moonlight. Eyes larger than his own head, deep as ocean trenches, and ageless as the stars, regarded him. The creature's face was as strange as a dream, both fearsome and wise, with an elegance born not of beauty, but of something far deeper, the weight of eternity. Caelan's voice was a whisper on the night breeze. "Who are you?" The air shimmered with an answer that wasn't spoken, yet heard in every corner of his mind. "I am Alarion," the voice murmured, cool as the depths. "I have waited for one who dares to listen." The prince shivered, not from fear but from awe, and a strange sensation of understanding, as if he'd always known this creature, had met him 1,000 times in his dreams, and yet was seeing him anew. The words came to his lips unbidden, as if spoken from a place deep within him. "Why have you waited?" The serpent's gaze flickered, and for a moment a shadow passed through those immense eyes. Some secrets wait for the right soul, the one who seeks not power nor fortune, but simply to know. Alarion's gaze shifted to the horizon, to the line where sky met sea, and a mournful silence filled the air between them. "There are mysteries in this world, young prince, that are lost and waiting. I know you feel them, the pulse of what lies beneath." Without another word, Alarion dipped his head, and a ripple spread across the water, bidding Caelan closer. With the reckless courage of the young and the strange trust that bound them, Caelan reached out, feeling the smooth scales beneath his fingertips, cold yet pulsing with life. "Do you wish to know the secrets of the sea?" Alarion's question was a soft challenge, one that beckoned and warned in equal measure. "Yes," Caelan answered, barely above a whisper. But in that single word was the weight of his heart's true desire. The serpent's body coiled around the boat, lifting it as if it weighed nothing. With a smooth, silent glide, they drifted out into the open ocean, leaving behind the safety of land. The night deepened, its shadows becoming more profound, and the stars overhead grew more distant, as though even the heavens held their breath. As they sailed into the unknown, Alarion began to speak, his voice a low murmur that threaded through the air, binding Caelan to him in shared silence and secrets. And in that stillness, the young prince felt the stirrings of a bond, not yet fully known, but as deep as the sea and as ancient as the stars. As the first blush of dawn approached, Alarion guided the prince far from the familiar coastline, deeper into waters where the sun rarely ventured, and where darkness reigned, a realm untouched by human eyes. The vastness of the sea stretched around them, unbroken, a silver veil over fathomless depths, promising both beauty and terror. With a smooth, silent motion, Alarion plunged beneath the surface, and Caelan, gripping the serpent's scales with unshakable trust, was pulled down into the shimmering depths. As they descended, light faded from golden to green, and finally to a mysterious twilight blue, as though they were slipping into a dream, woven from ocean and shadow. They glided through ethereal forests of kelp, where long ribbon-like strands reached out like ghostly hands, their leaves brushing against Caelan as if testing his resolve. Schools of silver fish darted past in swift, synchronized dances, their bodies a quicksilver blur that caught the fading light. The water was thick with the silent songs of creatures unseen, a murmur that buzzed at the edge of hearing, as if the ocean itself whispered secrets he could almost understand. Caelan marveled, his eyes wide with wonder, and a quiet reverence filled his heart as he clung to Alarion, feeling the smooth scales cool against his fingers. The serpent moved with a fluid grace that defied gravity, winding effortlessly through currents and eddies. And as they went deeper, Caelan began to see strange, luminescent shapes drifting in the darkness, creatures adorned with lights in hues of violet and emerald, their forms delicate and unearthly as if made from fragments of stars. Alarion's voice, low and deep, broke the stillness. This is the edge of the realm known to mortals, but there is much farther yet to go. Will it be dangerous? Caelan asked, though his curiosity was woven with awe rather than fear. There is danger in every shadow, young prince, but those who see only the peril will never find the hidden beauty beneath. They travelled onward, leaving behind the vibrant sea forest for a place where the ocean grew darker and colder, the water thicker with silt like ancient dust. Here, shapes loomed in the murk, half-seen forms that seemed to watch, remaining ever on the edge of sight. Shadows of wrecked ships rose from the silt, their masts twisted, their sails long lost. Caelan caught glimpses of rusted metal and tattered wood, as if they had stumbled into a graveyard of vessels that had dared too far into the unknown. There was a strange stillness in this place, a feeling of memory frozen in time. And Caelan sensed an old sorrow hanging over the ruins. "These ships," he began. But Alarion interrupted, his tone pensive, tinged with sadness. "They are the remnants of those who sought power without purpose. They came for treasure, for dominion over the sea's secrets. But the ocean is not so easily tamed. There are places it guards closely, refusing to yield." For a moment, Alarion fell silent, and Caelan thought he saw a distant look in the serpent's ancient eyes, a flicker of memory that seemed almost human. But in a breath, it was gone, replaced by the inscrutable gaze of an ageless being. They passed on through the wreckage and ventured further into the gloom, where the light dwindled to near darkness. Caelan's heart quickened as he realized that here, in these hidden depths, the world was not what it seemed. There was a heaviness in the water, a density that pressed against his skin, as though they had entered another realm entirely. A realm where reality itself was thin. And then, through the silence, Caelan heard a strange sound, a low, resonant hum, ancient and haunting, like a song from before time began. It vibrated through the water, filling his bones with a mixture of dread and wonder. "What is that?" he whispered, his voice trembling in the water. "The voices of the ancient ones," Alarion answered softly. "They are neither living nor dead, but exist in the space between, forever bound to these waters. They have tales to tell if one is willing to listen, but they are not for every ear." Caelan shivered, sensing the weight of unspoken stories surrounding him, stories that felt like buried dreams. Yet the feeling that had drawn him from the palace, that persistent ache to understand, urged him onward. He was here not to conquer, not to claim, but to know. They traveled yet deeper into the belly of the ocean, where light became a memory. And the only illumination came from Alarion's shimmering scales, casting a ghostly glow over the shadows. Caelan felt as though he were moving through a world woven from the forgotten and the forsaken. In time, Alarion paused, his gaze fixed on a shadow lingering at the edge of sight. "We are near the abyss," he said, his voice low and solemn. "Beyond this lies a place even I do not tread lightly." Caelan's pulse quickened. "What's there?" "Things that hunger in ways you cannot imagine. Shadows that devour light and memories alike. Only a soul willing to be lost can survive the abyss." And for the first time, Alarion's voice held a note of caution, as though he was speaking not only to Caelan, but to himself. The prince felt a shiver creep down his spine, an instinctive warning. Yet even in the face of such darkness, his curiosity held strong, and his trust in Alarion was steadfast. Together, they lingered at the edge of the abyss, where the ocean whispered its oldest secrets. Secrets that waited in the dark, heavy with forgotten dreams and buried truths. And as they stared into that endless shadow, Caelan sensed that this was only the beginning of mysteries that lay within the sea, and that Alarion, despite his wisdom, held his own secrets close, unyielding as the depths themselves. The ocean grew still as they neared the edge of the abyss, a vast chasm that cleaved through the sea's floor like a wound, plunging into a darkness so profound it seemed to consume all sound, all light. Even Alarion, whose presence had been as steady as the stars, moved with caution now, his silver scales dimmed, as though unwilling to provoke the shadows that lay below. For here, at the border of the abyss, even the sea's pulse slowed, and Caelan felt the weight of unseen eyes, old and unknowable, pressing upon him from all sides. Silence draped itself around them like a cloak, and in that silence, Caelan's breath seemed loud, intrusive. "Beyond this point, the light has no voice," Alarion whispered, his voice a mere vibration through the water. "This is the realm of shadows, where only those who seek nothing may pass." A flicker of movement caught Caelan's eye, and he turned, his heart ceasing at the sight of a monstrous shape gliding just beyond his vision. Vast and ancient, its form trailing through the water like a shroud. The creature's presence was not violent, but heavy, oppressive, and as it circled slowly around them, he saw its eyes, two orbs, like smouldering coals, fathomless, older than the seas themselves. It was a leviathan. Caelan's grip tightened on Alarian's scales, and he felt the serpent's body coil protectively around him. A barrier of silver between him and the creature that watched them with an ancient, seething hunger. "Beware the leviathan," Alarian murmured, barely moving. "It devours not out of need, but out of sorrow. An endless void that no soul, no light can fill." Caelan's mind echoed with Alarian's words, but his gaze was locked on the leviathan, captivated by the sheer depth of its loneliness. Its body seemed more shadow than flesh, a silhouette of loss wrapped around a soul too heavy to rise. Here was a creature bound to the abyss, forever roaming the edge of oblivion, cursed to hunger without end, seeking something it could not name. Alarian's voice, calm yet urgent, interrupted his thoughts. "Do not linger on its gaze, young prince, for it will pull you into its own depths. And there is no return from that place." Caelan forced himself to look away, the leviathan's eyes lingering in his memory like a dark fire. With a shudder, he released his grip on the thought of it, feeling a strange weight lift from him, as though the leviathan's despair had tried to thread itself into his very soul. They drifted past, leaving the creature to its shadowed haunt, and the silence seemed to deepen, the ocean closing in around them like a shroud. Yet something had changed. Caelan could feel it in Alarian, a shift in his steady calm, a tension that had not been there before, as if the leviathan's sorrow had unsettled even him. "What is it seeking?" Caelan asked, his voice soft, aware of the weight of the question. Alarian paused, his ancient gaze distant, as though staring into a memory. Once, long ago, the leviathan was a guardian, a protector of the sea's secrets. But power, young prince, does not exist without a price. The creature lost itself to the very mysteries it was meant to guard, consumed by a desire to possess what should only be known. For a long moment, they floated in silence, and Caelan sensed an echo of the leviathan's sorrow in Alarian's words, a feeling of something lost, forgotten in the depths. The prince realized then that the abyss held more than just shadows. It was a place of secrets kept even from those who sought only understanding. They drifted deeper, past strange formations that jutted from the seabed, like the skeletal remains of creatures long extinct. The water grew colder, pressing against them as if testing their resolve. Here, where the light had no voice, the shadows grew more oppressive, curling around them like silent watchers. And yet, in the quiet, Caelan felt a strange kinship with Alarion, a bond that transcended words. They were both seekers, drawn to the unknown, united in a shared silence, each holding secrets the other could only sense. He wondered briefly if Alarion too felt the pull of the abyss, if the creature's boundless knowledge ever felt like a weight, as it did now. "Tell me, Alarion," he asked, his voice nearly swallowed by the darkness. "Are there places even you cannot go?" Alarion's gaze was unreadable, yet his silence spoke volumes. "There are places in the deep," he replied slowly, "where even the stars do not reach, places that devour light and memory alike. I have seen them touch their edges, but I have not ventured further. Some mysteries guard themselves too well, even from those who guard them." For a moment, they were silent, suspended in that weighty stillness, as though the sea itself had heard and paused, acknowledging the truth of Alarion's words. Caelan felt the enormity of the ocean, not just as a vast stretch of water, but as a living entity, alive with secrets it held close, refusing to share with even the mightiest of its creatures. The Leviathan's shadow lingered in Caelan's mind, a reminder of the price paid by those who ventured too close to the heart of the abyss. He felt both humbled and unsettled, for he too was a seeker, drawn toward the edge of understanding, and yet he sensed the peril in his own desire to know. As they moved on, leaving the chasm behind, Caelan glanced over his shoulder one last time, catching a final glimpse of the Leviathan, a ghostly silhouette lost in the dark. It was a creature of endless sorrow, and in its gaze, Caelan glimpsed the cost of a soul bound to secrets it could never comprehend, forever wandering the abyss. The prince shuddered, yet he held his course, his heart resolute, for though he felt the weight of the Leviathan's fate, he knew he must go forward. There were mysteries ahead that whispered his name, and alongside Alarion he would continue, even into the depths where shadows reigned. As they moved deeper into the abyss, the water around Caelan thickened with an ancient energy, an unseen current that pulsed with each beat of his heart. Shadows danced in the corners of his vision, teasing him with glimpses of forms that faded like echoes before he could comprehend them. He felt the weight of the deep, a pressure that both exhilarated and frightened him, as if the ocean itself were holding its breath. Alarion glided through the water, undeterred, his silvery scales glimmering faintly in the dimness. "We are approaching the tempest's heart," he announced, his voice a low rumble that resonated in the water. A place of great power and peril. Caelan's curiosity surged, mingling with a sense of foreboding. "What is the tempest's heart?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper, afraid to disturb the fragile silence of the abyss. "It is the source of the ocean's storms, a vortex where the energy of the sea and sky converges," Alarion explained, Here, the tumult of water meets the fury of the winds, creating a force that can reshape the very nature of the world. It is a place of creation and destruction, and it lies at the very edge of chaos. With each word, the anticipation grew within Caelan, a magnetic pull drawing him closer to the heart of this tempest. They swam onward, the water growing colder still, swirling with unseen currents that seemed to ripple with an electric charge. Around them, shadows coalesced and danced, shapes that flickered like memories just out of reach. And then they broke through into a vast chamber, an underwater cavern where the water swirled violently, thrumming with energy. It was unlike anything Caelan had ever seen. The walls of the cavern pulsed with a light that resembled lightning, illuminating the swirling water in hues of electric blue and shimmering silver. In the center of this chaos stood a maelstrom, a spiraling column of water that reached up to the surface and down to the depths beyond comprehension. The tempest's heart roared with a life of its own, a living thing of fury and beauty, sending ripples through the water that rattled Caelan's very core. Alarion paused at the edge of the maelstrom, his form still as he regarded the tempest. "This is a place of great significance," he said, his tone reverent. "Many have sought its power, but few return unchanged. It can grant strength, wisdom, and insight, but it can also consume those who approach with greed in their hearts." Caelan felt the raw power thrumming through the water, vibrating against his skin. It was intoxicating, a call to his very being, and yet a chill ran through him as he recalled the fate of the Leviathan, a guardian turned wraith, lost in the shadows of his own hunger. Can we go closer?" Caelan asked, his voice trembling with a mix of fear and excitement. Alarion nodded slowly, his eyes locked onto the maelstrom's chaotic dance. "If you wish to know its secrets, you must be willing to embrace the tempest, to become part of its story. But tread carefully, for the heart of the storm holds both truth and danger." Without hesitation, Caelan moved closer, propelled by a mixture of awe and longing. As they approached the swirling waters, he felt a powerful surge, a rush of energy that pulsed through him like a heartbeat. He could hear the storm's voice now, a cacophony of whispers that wove through his mind, beckoning him forward. With a single deep breath, he plunged into the maelstrom, the world spinning into a whirl of light and shadow. The water enveloped him like a shroud, wild and chaotic, as he was pulled deeper into the heart of the storm. Instinctively, he clung to Alarion, their bond a lifeline amid the tempest's fury. Time seemed to lose all meaning within the storm, the chaos around him melding into a symphony of sensations. He felt the force of the currents, the energy crackling through the water like the brush of lightning. Visions flickered before his eyes, fleeting images of battles fought and won, of storms raging and calming, of life and death interwoven in an eternal dance. "Focus, young prince!" Alarion's voice pierced through the chaos, grounding him. "Listen to the storm! It will reveal what lies within your heart!" Caelan closed his eyes, surrendering to the tempest's embrace. He felt the storm swirling around him, and in that whirlwind, something began to emerge. A memory, a truth he had long buried. He saw himself not just as a prince bound to a kingdom, but as a seeker of knowledge, yearning for a world beyond the horizon. With each pulse of the storm, his desires became clearer, mingling with fears he had kept hidden. The longing to understand, to know the ocean's depths, clashed with the knowledge that there were shadows lurking there, shadows that could consume him. And then, amidst the chaos, he glimpsed a figure, not just a shadow, but a presence that resonated with both despair and hope. The Leviathan swirled into view, its eyes like burning coals, its form both majestic and sorrowful. It was trapped in the cycle of the storm, lost in a tempest of its own making. "Will you choose to save me, or will you walk away?" The Leviathan seemed to ask, its voice echoing in the depths of his mind, a plea woven with the weight of ages. The question hung heavy in the water, a choice that rippled through the fabric of the storm. Caelan felt the truth of it wash over him. He could not simply seek knowledge without confronting the shadows it brought. The choice was his to make, and the tempest would reveal not just the heart of the storm, but the heart of himself. With newfound determination, he opened his eyes, the storm swirling around him in a violent dance of light and dark. He would not turn away. He would embrace the tempest, not just to gain its secrets, but to understand the burden of the shadows within. As the maelstrom roared, Caelan found his voice amidst the chaos. "I choose to know," he declared, a resolve born from the depths of his being. And with that declaration, the storm responded, a fierce rush of energy surging through him, awakening a truth that would shape the path ahead. In the heart of the tempest, amidst the fury and the beauty, Caelan had found not just the ocean's power, but the essence of himself, a seeker of light within the shadows. As Caelan's declaration reverberated through the tumult of the tempest's heart, the maelstrom surged in response, its waters swirling more violently than before. A wave of energy washed over him, carrying both exhilaration and a profound sense of connection to the ancient forces that govern the ocean's depths. In that moment, he understood that the tempest was not merely a storm. It was a manifestation of the sea's soul, an expression of the very essence of existence. With Alarion beside him, Caelan felt the serpent's presence pulse with a strange vitality, as though they were both part of a greater truth unfolding within the heart of the storm. The chaotic dance of light and shadow enveloped them, and the voices of the ancient ones echoed, weaving tales of past guardians and lost treasures, of seekers and shadows alike. Do you feel it? Alarian's voice cut through the tempest, steady and firm. The storm recognizes your choice. It is now bound to you, and through you, its secrets will begin to unfurl. Caelan's heart raced as he surrendered to the flow of energy, allowing the tempest to guide him deeper into the whirlpool of his own spirit. Visions flickered before his eyes, not just of the past, but of the future, possibilities branching like the fronds of underwater ferns. He saw himself, a protector of the sea's mysteries, a bridge between the realm of mortals and the vastness of the ocean, where shadows and light entwined in a delicate balance. Yet, amid the revelations, a shadow lingered, a realization that whispered of the price one paid for such knowledge. The Leviathan's presence hovered at the edge of his consciousness, a reminder of what could be lost when one sought power without wisdom. "What is the storm trying to tell me?" Caelan shouted over the cacophony, his voice both a plea and a challenge. "It speaks of choices, of the heart's desires," Alarian replied, his gaze unwavering amidst the chaos. "But remember, young prince, knowledge can illuminate, but it can also blind. The deeper you dive, the darker the waters become." With that warning echoing in his mind, Caelan felt a shift within the maelstrom. The swirling waters began to coalesce, forming a shape, a figure emerging from the heart of the tempest, a being woven from the very fabric of the storm itself. It was a shimmering apparition, radiant yet elusive, flickering like a flame in the wind. "Who are you?" Caelan called out, his heart pounding in his chest as the figure solidified, its features becoming clearer, both beautiful and terrifying, embodying the storm's dual nature. "I am the keeper of the tempest's heart," the figure replied, its voice a harmonious blend of the wind and the waves. "I have witnessed countless souls who sought the secrets of the deep, yet few possess the courage to face the shadows that dwell within." As the keeper spoke, Caelan felt an overwhelming sense of clarity wash over him. "I want to understand," he said, his voice steady, fueled by the determination that had ignited within him. "I want to learn the truth of the ocean, its depths and its darkness." The keeper regarded him with eyes that reflected the storm's fury and grace, a shimmering blend of azure and silver. "Then you must be willing to confront the shadows that lurk in the depths of your own heart. For only through understanding the darkness can you illuminate the path ahead." The tempest roared in response, winds howling and waves crashing, as the keeper reached out a hand, beckoning him closer. Caelan felt a magnetic pull, a force drawing him into the very essence of the storm, and he did not hesitate. With Alarian by his side, he swam forward, his heart racing, ready to embrace whatever revelations awaited him. In that moment, he understood that the storm was not merely a trial, it was a journey, a rite of passage that would unveil the truths he had sought. As he approached the keeper, the maelstrom began to shift, the water swirling in a vibrant dance, drawing him into the heart of the tempest. And then, with a flash of brilliance, everything changed. Caelan found himself suspended in a realm of light and shadow, where time held no dominion, and the ocean's secrets lay bare before him. Visions erupted around him like the unfolding petals of a flower, revealing the interconnectedness of all things. He saw the delicate balance of life beneath the waves, the intricate web of creatures that thrived in the depths, and the echoes of past guardians who had once watched over the ocean's mysteries. Yet, alongside this beauty lay the darkness, the shadows that threatened to consume it. He saw the Leviathan, still bound by its sorrow, forever roaming the abyss, and he felt its pain resonate within him, a reminder of the cost of knowledge, the burden of understanding. Will you become a guardian, or will you be consumed? The keeper's voice echoed through the visions, a question that resonated deep within Caelan's soul. I choose to guard, he replied, conviction flowing through him like the currents of the sea. I will protect the mysteries and ensure that the light does not fade into shadow. As his words took root, the visions intensified, enveloping him in a kaleidoscope of colors and sounds, the pulse of the ocean thrumming in his veins. He felt the weight of the storm's power surging through him, a gift intertwined with the responsibility he could not ignore. Then, just as suddenly as it had begun, the tempest began to dissipate, the chaotic energy settling into a calm that felt both foreign and familiar. Caelan found himself floating in still waters, the maelstrom now a distant memory, its echoes lingering in the air like a fading melody. The keeper's form shimmered before him, fading into the mist of the ocean. You have chosen your path, young prince, it said softly. Embrace the truth of your heart, for the shadows will always be a part of you, but it is in the light that you will find your strength. And with that final word, the keeper vanished, leaving Caelan alone in the tranquil depths. He turned to Alarion, the serpent's presence, a reassuring balm amidst the unfolding silence. What now? Caelan asked, the weight of his choice settling within him like an anchor. Now, young prince, Alarion replied, his voice steady. We carry the secrets of the storm. We return to the surface, but you are forever changed. You have glimpsed the tempest's heart, and in doing so, you have awakened your own. With a renewed sense of purpose, Caelan felt the currents shifting around them, guiding them upward. As they ascended, the weight of the abyss fell away, replaced by the light that danced on the surface above. He was ready to embrace the challenges that lay ahead, armed with the knowledge that even in the depths of darkness, there existed the possibility of light. a truth he would carry with him, like a beacon through the shadows.